Hey, it is Serum, and I am back on Kerbal Space Program. And today we are launching the TAR base, which is an acronym, a horribly named acronym for Travel to Another Rock, because we'll be sending this to Duna. But if this works, I'm also planning on sending it to the moon with a few alterations, and to other bodies out there. So here we go. We're launching it, obviously, and it's actually pretty well balanced. And this is not my design. I got this from Rhythm. If you've watched any of my Minecraft videos, he's in some of them. Friend of mine, I got him into this game, and he's much better at designing things than I am. And he made this base himself, or very similar. And then he kind of drew up a sketch for me, and then I worked on it and came up with this, did my own little version of it. And I've tested this out quite a bit. I've launched it into the atmosphere of Kerbin and then landed it with parachutes. And I did lots and lots of tests, added parachutes, added things to make it land better. And as you'll discover here, that no matter how many tests you do, you can't account for the differences in planets and human error. But anyway, so we're now basically just launching it into orbit, and then from there we're going to basically shoot it off to Duna. This is actually my second attempt at this. The first time I didn't like the positioning of Kerbin to Duna, so I sped up time and then started another launch. And this took me about an hour and a half to do this, not counting the 40 minutes I did messing around the first time. So we're now in orbit, and we're going to start. I'm starting to try to get a orbit here that will send me to Duna, and I have an encounter with the moon, so I have to make sure I don't run into that. And then I also end up with an encounter with Mimbus too coming up here, so I have to avoid both moons while I'm basically leaving the system to head out to Duna. So it's a little tricky, but I'm kind of hoping maybe I can use the gravity of the moon to help launch me a little bit faster. Kind of counting on that. So I've got a orbit here that basically will take me away from Kerbin and break free of its gravity and slingshot me off to Duna. So now I need an encounter, because I learned that last time. Oh, I saw something there, so I'm basically just playing around. And I realized I haven't targeted Duna either, so I want to do that just to kind of get an idea here to make things easier. But like I said, I learned last time that you want an encounter on the first try, because otherwise you're going to use a lot of fuel trying to get there. So I hate this thing. I wish this thing would stay open when you zoom out. Hopefully they'll fix that at some point. So I see it. I'm coming in close, but I don't have the encounter I want. So I'm kind of just playing around, and there we go. I have an encounter now. So now the question is, can I burn to keep that encounter? Because I don't have the very powerful rockets. I just have 3 of the nuclear engines here that I'm going to be using, which I'm now going. By the way, I'm running this at 8 speed so you can see the whole thing instead of just cutting away bits of it. So now I just burn. And this part here, just burning to get to Duna, probably took me 40 minutes. When it was all said and done, just getting there. It was the longest part, and it took quite a while. So I'm just basically messing around with the wheel, seeing if I could lock them or something, because they were spinning. Then I decided to give up on that and just work on getting my breaking free of my orbit here. And I'm getting a little concerned because I'm burning down into the planet, and I'm starting to slowly move down into the atmosphere, and I don't want to hit the atmosphere because that could be bad. That would slow me down. So I kind of have to stop for a minute and wait until I get around the planet a little bit more, and then start burning again, which will throw off my orbit a little bit. but hopefully not enough to matter at all. I also have to be careful because I have these three nuclear engines right next to each other, so they tend to overheat quicker. So I have to keep an eye on that and not throttle up too high. So just still burning. It's a long one. Starting to get out there by the space station. Yeah, this part was. I think I even walked away at one point for a little bit to go do something because it was taking so long. I just kind of let it burn and went off, did a few things, came back, checked on it, made sure everything was okay, walked away again for a little bit, and came back again. And luckily, I didn't end up crashing or blowing up anything in between. And not sure like how much fuel I have here. It's it seems like it should be enough fuel, but I've also never used three nuclear engines on one tank, so I'm not sure like if I'm gonna have enough to get there or not. So now I'm getting out there a little bit. Still haven't reached the moon's orbit though. But yeah, this is very painful waiting for this. The design for this thing though, it has basically it's got a bunch of living quarters, and it has three rovers that will detach and drop off when it lands. I have parachutes to bring it down so that it can slow down in orbit or in the atmosphere. And I'm trying to think what else. And then I have some separators, whatever they're called, staged around it so that as it's coming down, if it comes down too fast, I can launch them. And so now here we are. We've actually made it. That was a lot faster than I was expecting. So we're now in orbit around Duna. It's kind of a long elliptical orbit because we were not quite on the inclination. So here we are, we're coming in. I'm trying to burn down to get into an orbit, and I realize I screwed up, and I'm actually coming into the atmosphere, and I don't have enough fuel to really save myself. So it looks like instead of landing by my other guy that is stranded down there like I wanted to do, we're on the other side of the planet, and we're going to land there. So I had to find a safe place. Okay, here my engine for some reason won't start, so I have to manually activate it. So luckily I was able to do that. I was a little worried. But we're going to land in that crater, so I'm hoping that'll be nice and flat, since the insides of craters usually tend to be, which seems odd because you wouldn't think it would be. But yeah, so the guy that I was trying to land by is way over on the other side of the planet, but because of a screw up, the first of my screw ups, I am not landing where I wanted to land. But that's okay. We'll still just try this out. So I was getting worried, but the chutes deployed. I wasn't sure if they would because that engine didn't start up like I was hoping. So we're just basically at this point I'm burning coming in, but I'm getting worried because we're coming in really quick. And we lost the engine that was supposed to slow everything down. So now I'm hoping these parachutes are enough to bring us down safely. And when I tested this on Kerbin, anything above about 10 meters a second, and you would hit hard enough to break the base apart. So I'm thinking in my mind I want to go under 10 meters a second, but we're doing about 15. So I'm like, well, I'm going to fire those separators. And that was a mistake, because I would have landed just fine if I didn't hit that. So now we're spinning around, and this is really bad. So I'm using the SRS on it to try to spin it around again. And amazingly, with the exception of something that flew off, it's looking like we might have landed safely. I do have a blown out tire on one of the rovers, and I'm looking it over trying to figure out what broke on it because something flew off. And It turns out it was the headlight on one of those rovers, but the other headlight's still on there, so it has enough to be, to function at night. So turns out somehow this base survived, even though I screwed up. But I learned a lesson here. Don't When you test things on Kerbin, you got to take into account not just the atmosphere, but the gravity too. So the gravity was less, so coming in at 15 meters a second would have been fine for this thing. So now I'm just deploying all the ladders on these living quarters on the sides here. And I'm also checking it over just to make sure nothing else is broken. One of the SRS I had on here broke off, but that's fine. I kind of put that on there knowing that it might break off, but it would protect the rest of the ship. So now I'm going to deploy the rovers, and hopefully these land upright, because on Kerbin they don't. They land upside down. I have RCS on them just in case I need to flip them over, but I am worried that this is going to cause problems. So I'm nervous here. I'm saving it, making sure in case something goes wrong. And they look like they're going to flip over, but they managed to land upright. Even the one with the broken wheel landed upright. And they're rolling away, but that's fine. I put the little automated module things on them, the satellite things, so that I can control each one unmanned, so I can just bring them back to the station if they roll away. And I'm going to send down my first guy. He will be the first Kerbin, or no, the second Kerbin on Duna. That's right, we already have one stranded on the other side of the planet. Part of me wants to drive around the planet to get to that guy, but I don't think that would happen. That's just too long of a drive. It would take weeks, I think, to get around this planet, so I think we're just going to have to send a rocket for him at some point. Or send another base for him to live in. So I'm going to repair this tire. Voila, good as new. Now we're just deploying all the antennas and everything and turning on all the lights to the station. Yeah, I can't believe this worked as well as it did. It should have been a disaster with the way things went. I mean, I did a lot of tests, but in the end, I made a bunch of mistakes too. So, landed in the wrong spot and fired those rockets when I didn't need to. But somehow everything survived. So now I'm just turning on all the little gadgets that I have on here, all the scientific equipment. And I've brought back all my rovers and parked them next to the base. So, I now have 3 guys in this base. Each one has their own little rover if they need it. I'll probably send more guys. Turning on all the lights too, which look nice. Lights up the station very well. Yeah, that looks pretty badass. I like that. So there we have it. The Duna base is all set up. Maybe we'll send my guy for a little drive around, just try out the buggy, the Duna buggy. This is actually my second design. The first one I did a different little smaller 4-wheeled buggy, and it was pretty unstable, so I went back and redesigned it and put some reinforcements on it just to make it a little bit tougher. So, and balanced it a little bit better too. So I think now these little guys will be much better. And they don't have any kind of stuff on it. They're just running off generators. But anyway, I am Serum. We made it to Duna. I will see you next time. Bye.